Hey everybody, it's Christie here. I am gonna work on my first process video, and I am using a Hip Kit Club. Sorry, I had to take a look. The Hip Kit Club from February. And I had this idea brewing for a while, but I had all these other projects going on, so finally getting to it. So I did some steps in preparation. What I was inspired by, this is the paper that I was inspired by, was this Joyful Day paper by Pinkfresh Studio. And so I really wanted to fussy cut these out. So I already took one of the papers and fussy cut them all out. And I had an idea to do with them, and so that's where we're gonna go. I also got a bunch of the different papers from all sorts of collections. Most of them are Joyful Day collections, and there's a couple out and about collections and some white cardstock. And I punched them with my Fiskars punches. I have a scallop, which I used on some, and this kind of lace that I used on the others. So that's already done too. These can go away. Really wanted to get some use out of my punches. Another thing I did was I separated all of the embellishments and stuff that came in the kit into colors. So I got these. So we have the pinks, the corals, the yellows, and then the greens, the periwinkles, and the blues, which kind of like all kind of mixed together. This has been sitting out while I worked on my sister's album, so it's collecting a little extra pet things. And then I got these Project Life cards just because I like the images, and I picked out a couple of the other Project Life cards. And I'm gonna start with some white basil cardstock. And these are the papers, I'll go through them really quick, that I punched out of. So we have this one I didn't use, but I might use the green because I don't have that many green. This one, this is Out and About. It killed me to cut this paper, just so you know. Another Out and About. And another Out and About. And this is from the Joyful Day and the Everyday Musings. This is the Joyful Day, and this is also the other side, Joyful Day. So those are the papers that I used for my strips. So I'm gonna go ahead and put you on fast forward as we work through the process of this layout. Yeah, so here we go. The first thing I did was cut off the branding strip for this basil thick white cardstock and cover it with white gesso. I just used the Liquitex. I used my Vicky Bouton scraper and got it covered nice and good because I'm gonna add a lot of mixed media to this. Then I decided to go ahead and lay out my strips of paper that I had cut in rainbow order. So I'm doing that and putting a white piece in between each layer, and I'll add another white as well, you'll see later on. So yeah, just laying them out. My original idea was to tuck the labels in between, but it just doesn't work, and you'll see that. Here's some green paper. I didn't have this vibrant green, and I really wanted it in the layout. I really like that color and kind of completes the rainbow. So I cut some with my Fiskars punches and just kept it moving, kept on going. I get here to the end, and I use my basic gray magnets. These magnets came with a magnetized cutting mat, and I use the magnets all the time. My desk actually has a piece on it from IKEA that's magnetized, so I don't even have use the cutting mat, but I use those magnets all the time to place things down because I'm always moving things around because I'm so indecisive. And I like for things to stay in place so I can get a good look at it. So you see me here trying to work with these labels, tucking them in. I use tweezers a lot because it helps me be more precise in getting things tucked in. So yeah. So I decide to move on to something else while I think about the labels. So here I'm gluing all these pieces together. And here they are, all glued together and in rainbow order from the bottom to the top. Laying out my pictures. My pictures are from our engagement session that we did, and they're in black and white, and I just love them so much. And I really wanted to scrapbook them, but I couldn't. You know, you want the perfect products, and I just could never seem to find it. So I just went for it. Here I cut a piece off of the end because I didn't want it to cover the whole paper because I wanted to add mixed media. And here you see I got some of this periwinkle color out and gonna start adding the mixed media to my background. I love mixed media and I use it a lot. So I have a lot of Shimmers products, and most of these are Shimmers, and there's a few Lindys Stamp Gang in here that I got with Hip Kit Club, the color kit. And I always get the color kit because they match so well. Here's Lindys Stamp Gang, mixing and matching. I wanted to show you my Nuvo scooper. It's perfect for these powders, and they're so vibrant. So you see me spray and add a little bit down at the bottom. This is just palette paper where you can mix on top of it. So I was mixing the color that I wanted and then just taking a piece of packaging and lifting it up and putting it on the layout. I really like the packaging technique, or smushing, or whatever people call it, because it just seems to add a really natural watercolor look, and I don't like the look of the brush strokes. So yeah, here's some mint, hint of mint, and another color that I got, I believe, with one of the color kits at Shimmers. The yellow was tough because the yellow was so bright, and you'll see when I mix it, I was like, whoa, it's way bright. So I put a little bit down at the bottom and just added a tad and got it covered because I wanted the background to not be so vibrant and in your face. I wanted the focus to be the pictures. So I didn't want too much on the background to distract it. So you'll see me adding these colors and trying to get the perfect match. But yeah, the light pink was hard, the last one, because it's more peach. But yeah, just continuing with the mixed media, and it looks like a hot mess. And Missy Whitten does a lot of mixed media, and she always says it looks like a hot mess for a time until you add your stuff back on top, the pattern paper and all your embellishments. So looks like a hot mess right now, but it does come out in the end, and I really, really, really enjoy how it came out. It was exactly how I wanted it to come out. And I use probably 15 different colors, and most of them are mixed together, 2 colors mixed together. So you see me putting the pattern paper up there and seeing if I have enough coverage and really liking it. Somehow I missed recording me adding the texture paste. So I added the texture paste with the stencil that came with the February hip kit. And it's like little bitty flowers, and it came out so well. So then I decide I'm going to sew on my page, and I start picking out threads that match each layer. And you'll see me go through my little box here and match them up, and I'll go and stitch on each white piece the color that the row is. So the periwinkle will get 2 periwinkles and so forth. And there it is, all finished. I wish it just took that long when I do it, but it takes quite a bit of time to take each color off and rethread it. These are Project Life cards from the Project Life kit, same kit in February, and they match the colors perfectly. So I really wanted to use those and add some color, pop of color under this picture, which is my favorite one. And yeah, so I really enjoy the cards in the Project Life kit because they always match beautifully. They do such a wonderful job of matching them up. So I always get the Project Life kit. And, you know, even if you don't do Project Life, you can use the cards as layering or cut pieces out. I do that as well. You'll see later on in the video. Here I'm just placing some of the die cuts on the page from the wax paper that I had set out before. And I'm just adding them, kind of color, excuse me, sorry. Kind of putting them with each color. So the periwinkle strip and goes on top and, you know, going on down. I didn't have a color strip for each color. So you'll see me kind of fool around and try to match things up. And I end up taking most of these die cuts around the picture off. Just because I felt like it was distracting from the picture and it was just not cohesive enough for me. So I'll end up taking them off later on, but I do keep the little embellishment cluster. And what I did was I took the wreaths from all of the other die cut packs and I just put it under each cluster. So I have a wreath up top with the periwinkle, a wreath in the middle with the mint, and then a wreath at the bottom with the coral as well. And I really like how these little clusters came out. They kind of match perfectly along with the colors in the layout. And these, the title Create Beautiful Love, are just Pinkfresh Studio's new, they're not thickers, they're their own line of titles. They're kind of puffy, they're more like puffy stickers, and they really are pretty. So I had to use those and kind of pair them up. So I'm trying to move things around and kind of get things situated and start gluing things down. So I'm putting down the title and I'll move the picture over and see where it goes and kind of mess with it a little bit. I put some fun foam on the back of my picture to pop that one picture up after I add all the layers to it. But I kind of sit here and work on the title for a minute, moving it all around. I use the Scotch Quick Dry in that little bottle and it's perfect. I never have a problem with clogging. I just put it back, the top back on so it doesn't clog. I'm just using my distress tool here. I think it's from Close to My Heart to distress all of the edges and layer these up together so that each piece is popping out. And I just could not stop putting this one piece behind that picture with the dark blue. And I don't know what it was, but I just messed with it. I really wanted it to go there and I just could not get it to work. It just was way too distracting. I think it was too dark. So finally I just take it off and move on to something else. And then I remembered I had other pictures that went with this one, kind of in the same field and the same black and white. And I was like, let me get these pictures out. I printed them for a reason. So here I am putting the fun foam on the back of the picture to help it pop up. I also get out tissue paper to back those other two pictures. Tissue paper is great because it adds an element of texture without being too much. So you don't want color upon color upon color. So here I chose the focal picture. I added my color there. And then I put the tissue paper on the other pictures to add some texture and dimension, but not something that's too distracting. I cut, 3 of the edges and then glue all the layers together so they don't come apart. And you'll see me rip the bottom or the top edge of this picture and the bottom edge of the other picture because I like how that looks. As picky as I am putting things down, I like things to be organized, so maybe just organized chaos. I don't know. So I'm gluing the picture down. I did add this frame. I went back and forth with it, but I end up adding it to the picture. And I really like that look. I like how that came out. And I'm glad that I broke the frames open. Those were in one of the kits in February as well. It goes with the Pinkfresh line. That's right. It's the Pinkfresh Joyful Day. So they match the colors perfectly. And I love how we get these kits and they have all these colors that match so well together. It's just a dream. So here I am working on the mint cluster and forgetting that I had my little floral wreath to go underneath. I've glued down the pictures, so I was like, great, now what? I did play around with the frames a bit and tuck one under each picture, and then you'll see I decide just to put the blue up there on the top picture. Yeah, there I go. Oops, sorry, there's my head. Trying to make sure I get it on straight. So I added the epoxy dots there to the right. I just added them according to the color, so added a few up top, and then once I get this little cluster going and the way I like it, I'll add some to that cluster, and then the bottom cluster will get some too. And that little kind of pinwheel is one of the paper clips that come with the Pinkfresh line, and I believe it was in one of my kits as well. But I really like how that looks popped up, and you'll see later that I use one of the other paper clips on the bottom cluster. So I'm just gluing things down and putting the wreath in and trying to cover up some of the pink because I didn't want those pink flowers to pop through. So I placed the clip over that pink flower and made sure that I could try to cover it up some. So here's where I use the other Project Life cards. So there was 3 Project Life cards with a camera, one with a light bulb, and one with the typewriter. And I fussy cut each of them out, and I added them one to each cluster. So you'll see the camera's up top because it has all the periwinkle. Then I mess with the light bulb and I tuck it underneath, and I use the typewriter for the pink cluster there at the bottom. Oh, here's the labels. So I did end up getting some of the labels and deciding to add them on the side there. So I did use some of them, but I have an idea to use the rest of them. We'll see if it works out. So I added each one. I added a blue, a yellow, and a pink, and just kind of color coordinating with the areas that those pictures are in on my layout. I'm adding little pieces, bits and bobs here and there, and most of the stuff comes off. So I decide to get out one of my punches. I stamp You and Me next to it, and then I use the date stamp to do that part. I did somehow cut off the part putting the journaling on it, but it's printed on vellum and it's cut apart and put on, and you can see it in the close-ups here. But thanks for watching, and I have some close-ups for you coming. Have a great day, guys. Bye.